All righty, Chevra. Opining. We continue. We're in, again, this 10th chapter, and we're on the 14th stanza of this introduction. A lot of introduction going on in the Rambam here. And basically, again, this is the introduction of the introduction to be able to talk more about Olam Haba. And he tells us about different types of people who have different ideas about Olam Haba. Remember, so he said there are three categories of people in this thing. Number one were the people that just take everything the rabbis say literally. Sorry, fixing my back. They take everything the rabbis say literally, and he's like, that's a really bad idea. You know, you're not really going to understand any of the Ma'amarei Chazal, any of the sayings of the rabbis if you're taking everything literally. The second group, but they trust the rabbis. Second group, they take everything literally, but they actually think that they're smarter than the rabbis. And they say, oh, this is what the rabbis are saying. They mock them. It's like the Torah, Gemara, Medrash, it's all a big game. It's like a big cartoon, right? Because they think the rabbis really didn't mean anything deeper than what was said in the Torah, than or whatever a Medrash says, even if it doesn't sound logical, even if it doesn't seem rational. That's what they meant. They didn't know anything. I know so much better than them. He's like, these are bad guys. He says, and then there's the third group. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, and this one is a long one. It's stanza 14. And I'll just tell you outside. He says that these people, he said, I can't even call them a grouping because they're so few and far between, sadly, right? Because they're the people that actually understand that what the rabbis are saying, and when you read a Gemara, when you read a Medrash, and it doesn't make sense, and it just doesn't, there's something not hegioni about it, it's not rational, they understand that the rabbis clearly meant it as a metaphor. They meant it metaphorically, allegorically. There's something going on that's deeper. There's a value, a lesson you're supposed to learn from it, a mashal and a nimshal. They understand, or they understood that the rabbis, are really deep thinkers, and they have the sort of esoteric understanding of Torah, and in conveying ideas, they sought parables and exaggeration, which we call guzma, and other means, just like Shlomo Melech, right? In Mishlei, right? Mishlei literally is called Proverbs, right? He used all sorts of parables in that, and he talks about how he used it in Koheles also. All of these things, right? There's something much deeper going on. And that's what this group of people, who unfortunately, he says, are literally scattered everywhere, mefuzaru meforad, almost the way that Haman says that the Jewish people are scattered everywhere. These people are scattered everywhere because they're actually the only people that know how to fully understand, how to fully understand the ways of the rabbis and really the lessons, the timeless lessons that they're trying to convey. So we're going to pick up at the very end of stanza 14. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines from the bottom of the Hebrew. V'ima tamin akada shlishit, and if you are part of this third group, you're in good company. Kishatira davar midivreim shadas marchikoto. If you see a saying of the rabbis that's just totally outside of the realm of possibility, right? That das marchikoto, that it's like it's distance from your mind. There's no way you fully understand it. V'tit bonein bo, and you think about it, you contemplate it. V'dashu chida umashal, and you realize that actually this is a chida umashal. This is a parable. This is a metaphor. V'tishkav ashuk halei v'tiruda ra'ayon, and he says, and you go to sleep. You lay burdened in your heart and occupied by the meaning of the idea and the composition and in its rational meaning. And you think to find the intelligent intention, the straight faith. When you really try to think about it, this is a really good thing, right? And you really faithfully are trying to understand it on that deeper level. K'mo shenemar limtso divrei chayfetz, to find, as it says in Koheles, to find words of desire. V'kasuv yosher divrei emes, and it says to straighten out the authentic words, the true words. V'az tistakel b'sifri zeh v'yo'il lecha be'ezrat Hashem. He says, then if you are of that mind, or you're of that understanding, then keep reading. Keep reading. Look into this book of mine, and it'll help you with God's help, right? Meaning, on a certain level, though, he's saying, hey, guys, if you're in the first two categories, I don't want you to read here anymore. I'm not interested in trying to understand, to explain something to you that you're not going to understand, because Olam Haba is an esoteric concept. It's infinite, it's spiritual, as we've explained. It's not, up there and having a big baseball stadium, and this guy has his mansion, he's living here, and you're... It's not it. It's not it. So basically he's saying, beware, caution, as we continue. Stanza 15. Ve'ata, so join me on this little journey, and hopefully we could be a part of that, that group. That's the elevated, enlightened group. Ve'ata achel ledaber b'ma shekivanti lo. And now I'll try to speak about that which I was alluding to. Heve yodea ki kamo shelo yasiga suma eina tzva'im ve'eina charash masig shema hakolot v'lo asaris tavad hamishgal kein lo yasigu agufot tanugim hanafshiot. He says, just like a blind person can't really see colors, doesn't understand what a color, you could say blue, green, whatever, he doesn't know what that means. And just like a deaf person can't comprehend Shema HaKolot, what certain sounds sound like, a high-pitched sound, a low sound, or this. And a person who is a eunuch, someone who is sterile, can't understand the desire for intimacy, for sexual relations. So too, a body, a body, a physical being, can't really understand spiritual delights, can't really understand spiritual pleasure, right? We're not that. We're physical. Just as fish can never fully understand or grasp fire, because they're water. They're water-based, right? It's like Lahavdil, like the Little Mermaid, right? Where she's like, what is this? How do you understand fire? How do you understand something like that, right? You can't. Shehem hafcho. Water is the opposite of fire. Fire is the opposite of water. How could a fish understand fire? Kain eino noda bezel olama gufni ta'anuga olama ruchni. So too is it impossible for someone in this world, in this physical, material world, to understand the delight, the desire, the pleasure of the spiritual world. The finite can't understand the infinite. Aval ein etzleinu b'shum panim ta'anug zu zulati ta'anug haguf bilvad. The only thing we have to compare it to, says the Rambam, are physical pleasures, our physical delights. Nice piece of steak, right? A good, whatever. V'asagas hachushim min ha'ma'achal ve'amishteh ve'amishgal. And the sensory expressions, or the sensory comprehension, or the sensory, oh man, what word am I looking for here? Sorry, I apologize. Right, when you have, there's like sensory overload, right? Really, the sensory experiences of eating and drinking, and again, sexual intimacy as a desire, as a pleasure, some sort of, a major earthly pleasure. V'chol ma shezulato ele hu etzleinu beli matsui. And anything other than those things, that, again, we have nothing to compare to. There's nothing that exists that's, these are the pleasures we know. Ve'einanu makirin oto. We can't recognize them. V'lo nasig oto. And we can't comprehend them. B'tchilas hamachshava ela achar chakira gedola. And in our initial analysis, we can't fully understand. We can't understand anything other than these things, these physical things. Though through more due diligence and research and deeper digging, maybe we could understand a little bit of something different. Again, a fish understanding fire, right? Imagine that. That's like us. We're the fish in water. How do you understand fire, right? They say Hashem on Har Sinai was an Eish Ochla, was a fire. How could you understand? The Gemara says, I don't understand. How could you connect to a fire, right? The Gemara says, it says you should cleave to God. L'davka bo, you should cleave to God. How do you cleave to a fire? God's a fire. We're water, right? We have the Torah, we're fish and water. Well, what do? So we have to keep pushing, right? That's the life of a Jew, is to keep pushing, seeking to push the limits, push the boundaries, try to understand further. Only finite things, right, that have a beginning and an end, right, that's, quick pleasures, right, that are earthly pleasures that are here today, gone tomorrow. He says, first thing you need to know, and we'll end here, spiritual pleasures are always, they're tmidim. They're constant, like, right, the frequent flyer club of El Al, if it ever flies again, right, is called the matmidim, hasmada, right, I'm learning, constant. A spiritual pleasure is infinite by definition, it has no beginning and no end, it's constant. Omdim la'ad einam nifsakim. How does that compare to, eating a great piece of steak or eating a great burger? You eat it and it's done. And it's nice, right? You pay a huge bill. You go out to eat. You support the restaurants that need our support. And then you're done. You pay a huge bill and you're like, okay, I'm done. Spiritual pleasure it's long-lasting. It's not long-lasting. It's everlasting. It's eternal. There is no relationship, right, to understand the physical versus the spiritual. They're not similar in any way. Etc. Whether you're a Torah learner or you're a philosopher, it's impossible to grasp, but we have to grasp that there is a difference. And I think that's the beginning of trying to start to understand or to be able to opine on Olam Haba. Have an amazing Purim, a Freilichem Purim. Yes, it's physical pleasure there. Eating, drinking, doing the things that we're supposed to do to celebrate Purim, but may it lead to something deeper and spiritual. Yom Kippurim. Have a great one.